Okay, answering more questions regarding this particular time frame we're in with the closures. Huge concern for this school closure deal, having a middle school in special ed and a 3-year-old in a preschool program, which has also he's also been receiving speech, PT, OT. Does anyone have any suggestions for what this does with their IEPs? Also, the school says that they will not send home Chromebooks for students to do their work. Now, they're not sending stuff home, or at least a lot of schools are not sending stuff home, because if they send anything home for general education students, then they have to provide services for SPED, special education identified kids, and that includes preschoolers. All right. So, but a lot of schools are making the decision not to do anything for any student temporarily until they sort of figure out what to do with special education. Now, do I necessarily have a problem with that? No. The reason being is that they're not providing services for gen ed kids that don't have IEPs. Then it's not discriminatory, guys. It's the same exact treatment, treating everybody the same, which is nothing. Now, do I agree with that? I don't agree with it, but at the same time, would I rather them take a step back for a couple weeks instead of getting themselves into a legal conundrum by disparate treatment and discriminatory treatment? I wouldn't want them to do that either. But also, I understand government, and I understand government doesn't move that fast, and I understand government is fairly incompetent. And I also understand that government, for all of these years, has been riding in an archaic vehicle. It's been delivering information to our kids in the most ass-backwards way you can imagine. Oh, well, this happened. So now it's caused a disruption. So how are we going to, provide services to all of our kids? And how are we going to do that using all of this technology that they've been ignoring and distancing themselves from? And I'm talking mainly in how we're providing services to our special education kids. They've been using technology, but they've been using technology, quite frankly, for the throwaway kids, or in a throwaway fashion. At least that's the mindset, or what I mainly deal with. Now, what does that do for the IEP? Nothing, guys. They're still required to provide your child a free and appropriate public education. Now, just because your child isn't going to school right now for a few weeks, supposedly, it might be for the remainder of the school year, doesn't mean that they do not have a responsibility to provide your child a free and appropriate public education. You go, well, how can they do that, James, if my child's not in school? Well, guys, being provided a free and appropriate public education is a year-long journey. Okay, it's a school year journey. So you developed your IEP, let's say last May, or let's say you developed it in August. That's when the goals and the services started, right? So the school year for the implementation of your IEP runs for the duration of that IEP. And so therefore, the analysis that my law firm does when it comes to whether or not the school system fulfilled their legal mandate to provide your child a free and appropriate public education by having them make tangible progress using data collection, that they did in fact have a measurable benefit based upon your IEP, that judgment, because it's not going to stop. We're still getting calls, guys. We're still working. We are still working. This has not stopped the process whatsoever. It just makes things a little bit interesting with regards to how we're going to settle the cases in the future and the corrective action. But with regards to our discussions with the board attorneys, our ability to settle, the judges, meetings, mediations, those things are still occurring. We're just finding alternative ways to have them. Video conferencing, for example. But the analysis on our side is going to be from when that IEP was first developed in March. And that is the time frame that the school has. That's it. If they cancel school for the rest of the school year, then that's on them. That really screws with their ability to have your child make that progress, or that remaining progress for the last couple months of school. So they will be judged on the FAPE based upon the implementation period that has already transpired. That's what, 3/4 of the school year. And some kids will make progress during that period. Others will not. And so therefore there's where the analysis is. And so, with regards to developing next year's IEP, then what I'm saying is all this procedural stuff right now of extending current IEPs, that's all nonsense to help the schools stay in compliance. And this is where I'm asking parents to be patient, to be helpmates and partners with the school on the procedural stuff. Now, the substance of whether your child made progress, tangible progress, measurable progress, that's done. If we don't go back to school, that ended when they closed the schools last week. And they'll be judged from that point going back to the beginning of the school year. That's where you make that judgment of whether a FAPE was provided. And then we're just going to have to deal with when we develop the new IEPs, and then that aspect of your child's right to a free and appropriate public education starts when that new IEP is developed. And then depending on how we handle this in between, some of this procedural stuff may or may not have any impact on whether your child had a FAPE or not. So don't blow this out of proportion, okay? I just provided you how we analyze that. And so I hope that makes sense and calms some of you down.